Welcome to MLA Voices, the podcast that delves into the world of the Master of Liberal Arts at the Johns Hopkins University. I'm your host, Tristan Cabello, Associate Director of the MLA, and in each episode of this podcast, we welcome a different alum to share their experiences, challenges, and successes within the program. Join us as we explore the diverse perspectives and insights that our alumni bring to the table. Whether you're a current student, a fellow alum, or simply interested in liberal arts, tune in and discover the voices that have shaped and been shaped by the MLA program at Hopkins. And today I'm joined by Cheryl Keefe. Cheryl graduated with the MLA program in 2022. Cheryl, it's good to have you on the podcast.
Hi, great to talk to you, Tristan.
So the first question that I have for every student on the podcast is really the same. It's, can you share a little bit more about your background and the reasons why you decided to enroll in the MLA program?
Okay, sure. My education before my MLA was actually in liberal arts fields, that is art history and theological studies. However, and this kind of surprises some people, I spent my 32 plus year career working for a global financial services company, primarily for its asset management company.
Yeah.
And I had a variety of roles, including budgeting and forecasting, energy investing, financial reporting, compliance, and risk management governance. I found that my career was a really good fit for me with its daily challenges, global reach, and work colleagues with a wide variety of backgrounds. And I attribute in some ways my comfort there and some of the different jobs I had to having a liberal arts background, but also liking math. The MLA, in a way, was like coming home to my earlier educational interests. I took my first MLA class in January 2017, a few weeks after I retired. But how did I get here? It's actually been a long journey, as my interest in Johns Hopkins began sooner after I graduated from college over 35 years ago. At that time, I was considering getting a PhD in art history with plans to work in a museum or teach. And when I was researching universities, I was really surprised to find at the time, and they still do, but Johns Hopkins offered an art history PhD. And this really intrigued me. So I put that in the back of my mind. For a variety of reasons, I did not pursue a PhD in art history, though I did get a master's focused on theological studies from another university. And then a month after I got that master's is when I had my opportunity to work in that financial services company I mentioned. The idea of JHU, though, returned when my son was applying to Hopkins and other colleges in 2008. And I distinctly remember attending a prospective students event for him on campus in Baltimore. Soon after that, I got to know JHU a little bit firsthand when he was an undergraduate there. So then, finally, getting to the point, in early 2016, I began thinking about retiring. And I knew that I wanted to make lifelong learning a central part of my post-retirement life. So then I thought about JHU again and came across the MLA program. This was exactly what I was looking for, a flexible program due to its online format and many interesting courses from which to choose. So I've been thinking about Hopkins for a long time. And so when I came across the MLA, I was so excited to find that, and I applied.
Great. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Cheryl. And so you kind of touched a little bit on the topic in your first answer, but can you share also what were your primary goals when you started the Master of Liberal Arts, and how has the program influenced your views on the liberal arts?
Yeah, sure. So my primary goal when I applied was to establish a good grounding, a firm foundation as I started retirement. I knew I would miss the intellectual challenges of work and social interactions with my work colleagues. Plus, I have always loved school since I was a child. I viewed my MLA not so much as an end goal, but as a part of my ongoing process of learning that has been important to me as long as I can remember. I don't think the MLA program influenced my views on the liberal arts that much, but it reinforced for me how rigorous liberal arts study can be. I found this to be the case in college and grad school previously, but is even more so the case with the MLA program. At JHU, I think it's due to the online format, the variety of assignments, and teaching methods of the professors, such as weekly questions and discussion post assignments, oral presentations, journals, blogs, reflection papers. I could go on. One thing though, I'm a huge supporter of the liberal arts, but over the years, I've come to see the value of connections between the liberal arts and work.
Mhm.
One of the assignments for the course, Ways of Knowing, Historical and Epistemological Foundations of the Liberal Arts, was an oration designed to be given at an MLA event with a university audience. The topic I chose was a call for the liberal arts to connect learning and work. In
Yeah.
my talk, I discussed the long history of this idea within the liberal arts, the practicality of this approach due to the rising costs of higher education, the value of a liberal arts education in the workplace, which I found to be true for myself during my career, and then some current college programs that connect learning and work. So this was that assignment was actually a really helpful exercise just to see how the liberal arts fit in a broad university culture. And then for me, the connection with work that is there.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for mentioning Ways of Knowing. I mean, for our listeners, I have to explain that Ways of Knowing is one of our core courses. In the Master of Liberal Arts, you have a set of core courses that you have to take, and then a few electives. And Ways of Knowing is one of our core courses. So you did share your experience in Ways of Knowing. Is there another particular moment or a course in the MLA program that significantly influenced your thinking or your career path?
Well, it's really challenging to select a particular moment or course. Each course was different and stretched me in various ways. Each was memorable, but I have one example I can give, and I have more, but I can give this one in particular. Overall, found there was flexibility in many of the assignments. I was able to research topics that had interested me in the past. For example, for the course, The Rise and Fall of Empires from Rome to Brexit, I wrote a paper entitled The Political Rhetoric of the Vietnam War, the Domino Theory. I'm too young to have gone to Woodstock, but I remember the Vietnam War. My
Mhm.
father, a World War II vet and history buff, supported the Vietnam War, often defending his support with the domino theory.
Mhm.
Justifying US involvement in the Vietnam War, the domino theory held that once Vietnam fell, the rest of the world would eventually fall to communism. Researching this theory was a rite of passage for me. I was able to find my own voice on this topic through writing an academic paper showing how the rhetoric around this theory waned as US casualties grew in an unwinnable war. And I think that's one thing that's really important about the MLA program is you do all this wonderful research and using a variety of methods, but you can also bring in kind of your personal
Yeah,
perspectives, your
yeah,
personal story,
yeah.
and have those two kind of go together. And I found that true
Mhm.
in many of the assignments. And I just wanted to mention one more
Yeah, sure.
example. After taking the course on world religions, I thought I might want to teach a course on this topic if the opportunity arose. And I actually did this
Oh,
last
wow.
fall.
Okay.
I actually did this last fall at Harvard's Institute for Learning and Retirement, where I'm
Yeah.
a member. And I joined that group back in 2022 because I really missed the
Uh-huh.
academics of JHU. So I have to keep going to school
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
way, shape, or form.
Great, great. You also talked a little bit about what I'm going to ask next in this answer about your connection with Harvard, where you
Mhm.
taught. But can you explain a little bit more about the skills, the knowledge that you acquired in the program, and how they have transferred into your personal career or your teaching career, for example?
Yeah, and it's my my kind of feel like a little bit like my amateur teaching career, but it's
But
definitely with
still,
a very definitely with a very let's put it this way, rigorous audience.
yeah.
So I think one of the things early on in the program I learned after just taking a few courses that the assignments would not be primarily research papers.
Mhm.
So as I mentioned earlier, for example, over the course of my MLA studies, I prepared reflection papers, blogs, journals, graphics, a timeline. Discussion forums were a huge part of the coursework and oral
Mhm.
presentations. I was always testing my academic skills in new ways. This a key learning for me and skill was I learned to be flexible and found ways to leverage and expand my existing creative thinking, writing, and analytical skills because of all these different approaches to learning
Yeah.
that I had to face in taking the
Mhm.
courses. And I remember before each course, I was like, oh no, what are the assignments going to be? Because there was kind of a little fear and trepidation because it was hard to
Yeah.
know what to expect.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was just a wonderful learning and creative experience in all the courses that I took. Another skill I think I learned was one, I learned patience. Since the
Mm-hmm.
classes are not in person and are asynchronous, one could not just jump in with a comment and receive an immediate response during a discussion. I
Right.
found that crafting careful responses to questions and listening to what my classmates wrote was really, really important. The other thing I learned, the importance of writing posts and commenting on the posts of others in ways that would encourage further discussion and move the conversation forward through posing follow-up questions. So
Yeah.
you had to really kind of put yourself out there and not just you write your answers, you comment
Mhm.
on other people, but also think about how can I move this discussion forward
Yeah.
when people read the interactions. And this actually resulted in some interesting in-depth discussions. Another important learning, I learned so much.
Yeah.
I also found myself questioning my own assumptions due to the
Mm-hmm.
diversity of opinions and thoughtful written peer conversations. I would often go back and re-review what my classmates or I had written and rethink my previous opinions. This was really helpful for my own learning process.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really do that if you're in an in-person class and haven't had this discipline to write answers, comment on people's responses, and then have an ongoing
Yeah,
dialogue.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned all of this, and this really reflect the fact also that there's a lot of avenues and a lot of opportunities for making connections with other students in the
Absolutely.
MLA program, and so
Right.
that's very important. One of the central theme of our program is the common good or social justice,
Right.
and so in your view, Cheryl. What role does a liberal arts education play in understanding and also advocating for social justice?
Okay, great. So I think it emphasizes looking at other points of view, questioning one's assumptions,
Hmm.
and understanding social justice issues from a historical, cultural, and personal perspective.
Yeah.
The emphasis on social justice in the MLA program encouraged me to dig deep into my own experiences and unintentional biases. And I just wanted to share some related backgrounds on me. For a long time, I have been interested in social justice issues, in particular, Black experience.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps this is because my father taught part-time at one of the historic Black universities for many years.
Hmm.
I attended an integrated kindergarten and on the university's campus and later an integrated elementary charter school in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
This was unusual for a white child during the 1960s and a very positive experience for me. It also made me aware of racial prejudice from a young age. I learned about critical race theory for the first time in the early 1980s while pursuing my first master's degree. The
Mm.
message of that course, which has stayed with me over the years, as well as my time in the MLA program, has encouraged me to continue to stay informed about social justice issues. Formal study of this topic has changed me and how I respond in conversation in formal and informal settings, and I continue to read broadly on this topic. So, but the
Yeah.
MLA really influenced me and kept me kind of up to date and
Yeah.
encouraged me to continue with exploring these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And critical race theory is also one of the cores that we offer in the MLA program. So I just wanted to add this. Cheryl, if you had to go back in time and this was your first semester in the MLA program, um, what advice do you wish you had received? I mean, what kind of advice would you give to someone considering the Master of Liberal Arts, especially very early on in the program?
So I think this is some of the advice I would give.
Hmm.
This is an opportunity for you to discover how to integrate personal interests and experiences within a rigorous academic setting. Think intentionally about how you how what you are learning is you, such as your view of the world, your work and personal relationships and life experiences. Be engaged. Your life to date is a valuable resource for your MLA study.
Mhm.
And also expect to meet a diverse group of learners who are on this MLA journey with you. Each class is its own community where friendships develop in a collaborative environment. I am friends with a woman I met in a 2018 class, and we stay in touch on a regular basis.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
I'm also in contact with some other former classmates via LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah. Great. And I have one last question to conclude this podcast, and it's very broad, but usually I love the narratives that students are sharing. How do you feel you've grown or you changed during this program?
My MLA experience encouraged me to never stop learning and to seek challenging academic encounters. I have taken some Odyssey courses at Hopkins, and in the fall, as I mentioned before, I became member of Harvard's Institute for Learning and Retirement, which is part of Harvard's Division of Continuing Education. The Institute is a peer-led group of about 500, and members like me lead the classes. There are about 70 classes per semester. I led my first class in fall 2023,
Mhm.
but I think I would never have thought about joining this program if it hadn't been for my MLA studies
Yeah,
and the confidence in my ability to learn with all these different kinds of assignments with this diverse group of people across the country and globally. And my time in the MLA program was actually great preparation for my current learning on a personal level and also my teaching endeavors. So it really grew me and stretched me and gave me a broader view of the world and more confidence in my abilities to meet the challenges of today.
great, great. Cheryl, I really want to thank you for everything that you shared in this podcast. I know that a lot of students are going to find this very interesting. And so thank you very much for sharing everything, Cheryl.
You're welcome. It was really fun, Tristan. Thank you.
So, to our listeners, I also want to say that we are releasing those podcast episodes every other week. So please stay tuned for the next episode in 2 weeks. And I want to thank Cheryl again. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Tristan.